What's on Tap is brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here's the highest point totals going into the weekend. Sundays are easy to enjoy where they are full of football and the fridge is filled with beer. These are the games we're locking in on, guys, and we're going to start with the highest point total of the season. That is the Bills at the Lions. The Lions are favored by 2.5 points at home, but more importantly, the over-under in this game is 54.5. Matthew, any concern for James Cook after last week? He's had some monster touchdown performances, but it was the Josh Allen show against the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen handled 100% of the red zone and goal line rush attempts last week. Not just the goal line, but also red zone rush attempts. It's not a great matchup. Over the last 4 weeks, no team allows fewer fantasy points to opposing running backs than the Detroit Lions. Having said that, so lower expectations a little bit. He's my running back 19. And I will tell you that I have James Cook in a couple of leagues, and I'm starting him in every league that I have him in. Like over the previous 5 games, he's averaging almost 19 fantasy points per game. He's got 11 rushing touchdowns this season. 11, right? There are 3 running backs that have more. Only 3 running backs. So I think given the high over-under of this game, given how good he's been, given the fact that they use him somewhat in the passing game as well, again, lower expectations, but I get the concern. I think you still have to go back to James Cook.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much a no-brainer in a game that has this high of a total. And also, as good as the Detroit run defense has been, their D-line is still really banged up overall. So they should be more vulnerable on the ground than their season-long stats would imply.
Did it mean anything to you what the Bills offense did to the Rams, and then the following week the Niners couldn't get anything going against them? And I understand the weather. I understand that. But like we talked about, it wasn't just a monsoon for 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Did that, kind of tell you anything about what could happen in this matchup? Because the expectations are season high here.
Yeah, no, I think it is instructive somewhat. I do also think that a lot of the Bills' production against the Rams was yak and just some really poor Rams tackling after the catch, particularly with Khalil Shakir. So I don't think this means that the Bills are like the number 1 offense in football by margin, which you might think if you just looked at how they played against the Rams than how the 49ers played. Also, Josh Allen's just a lot better than Brock Purdy, and I think that kind of manifested in these past 2 weeks as we saw. So, look, it's going to be an interesting matchup overall because the Lions' defense, they play a ton of man coverage. They blitz a lot. It is very high variance. I think there could be some explosive plays. We're going to see Terry and Arnold one-on-one down the field with Amari Cooper. So I do think that the Bills will have success through the air, but also I just think there are going to be so many points in this game, and they're going to be in scoring position so much.
That's a question for you, because the line is 54.5, as we mentioned. But over the last 4 weeks, the Bills are the 6th best pass defense in the NFL, and the Lions are the 4th best pass defense in the NFL. No, I understand. The numbers are the numbers. Like, in some of it's again, like the Bills playing that. Yeah, the Bills playing that. The snow game and that lower. So it's skewed by some of those games. But my question is do you think? Could you see Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson saying, like, we're going to run Knuckles and Sonic, but whatever, we're going to run Sonic and Knuckles, whatever, doesn't matter. But we're going to run Montgomery and Gibbs, right, and just try to take the Bills out of this, try to keep Josh Allen off the field. Could you see the under hitting in this game that both teams actually try to go to a run heavy script?
Yeah, it's certainly possible that would be the way to lean into it. At the same time, I just think there are going to be so many explosive plays on offer, even if they are running. It's not like the Lions are a grinded out run for 5 yards a carry. Like Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the most explosive runners in football. And then on the other side, I think Josh Allen, with the level that he's playing at, it's just difficult to see this playing out as a 24-17 type of game. I think that'll only happen if there are turnovers, if there's failures in the red zone, which can always lead to unders too. But at the moment, I mean, these are arguably the 2 best offenses in football with the way that they're playing.
We'll obviously get more into this on Fantasy Football pregame, 11 a.m. Eastern on Peacock and the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. I'm Company Man. That'll be Sunday morning. Me and you, George the Geek, and of course Lawrence Jackson, number 1 seed George the Geek. Connor, given how high the total in this game is, are you starting the complimentary, guys like
Tim Patrick, right?
Right. Tim Patrick, Jameson Williams. Are you starting Amari Cooper or Keon Coleman or Dalton Kincaid? If Kincaid's back, which we expect him to be, like, are you starting Kincaid? Are you starting Amari Cooper with those other two guys, with Coleman, and if Coleman and Kincaid are in fact active? Like, I think you're starting Cook and Shakir and obviously Josh Allen.
Definitely still starting Amari Cooper, just because I think they need to build that rapport as much as they can for the postseason, and it's going on the right. I think it's going to go in the right direction.
Targets went way up last week.
Yeah, there's a lot of promise there. Like we've talked about with the Lions defense, you want to throw against them. I'd be hesitant on Keon Coleman returning from injury because we just don't know the usage.
Right.
You know, Shakir's going to get his targets. We know Amari Cooper's going to get his targets. Kincaid, I find it hard to believe you have a better solution at tight end if he was your guy. Maybe you do. Like, are you starting Stone Smart over him?
Right, of course.
Like, is that
Jay might. The great slappers are down
over
bad.
Tommy DeVito. Yes. I am starting Tim Patrick and Jamison Williams.
Okay.
Because I think there's a chance both can score. Jamison Williams is a big play machine. Tim Patrick is who Jared Goff is looking at in the red zone now.
Yeah. I mean, Tim Patrick, just with his size, with his, I think just his understanding of space as well in those tight areas. He's a guy who is now playing like 70% of the snaps and is the wide receiver 3 on perhaps the best offense in football. And also he's wide receiver and a 3 in a way that, like, Jameson Williams is the number 2 guy. Jameson Williams is a completely different player. Jameson Williams is Deshaun Jackson getting down the field. So Patrick, his ability to win in the red zone, I think makes him, I think Tim Patrick's the guy going forward that you expect is going to be like 5 for 40 with a decent chance at scoring a touchdown, which is very viable.
And Lawrence made a really good point on this show a couple weeks ago. With Jamison Williams at home, he's just a totally different player. He hit that plus money bet. So you feel good about Jamison Williams in this game. Good script at home. Our next game, guys, Miami at Houston. The Texans are favored by 3 points in this game. The over-under is at 46.5. Matthew, are you going to start Jaylen Waddle, who's been was a fringe guy, then felt droppable, and now out of nowhere he's back?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's sort of, proven it a little bit, right? I mean, you see him there. He's at wide receiver 28, so I'm starting him in deeper leagues. I have him in the league where I started Brock Purdy last night. I am starting Jaylen Waddle in that one as well. I'm in Scott Fishbowl. I made the final. Scott Fishbowl is this massive 4,000 person charity tournament. I'm in the final 500, so I'm starting. It's a very deep league. I'm starting Jaylen Waddle in that. Look, last week, season highs in targets and receptions. He's had a 20% target share in 3 of the past 5 games, and he's averaging over 20 fantasy points per game in those last 3 games. Now, this is somebody who had averaging 8 points in his first 10. So I get if you're gun shy about Jaylen Waddle. Again, he's a wide receiver 3 for me, but it's worth noting over the last month, the Texans allow the 4th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. The secondary is burnable. I think they'll focus a lot of attention on Tyreek Hill here. So I do think Waddle and Jonnu Smith should have nice games against the Texans.
Yeah, I think a key with the Dolphins as well is that you want to understand if the opposing defense plays a lot of man coverage. If they play a lot of man coverage, then that's good for Jaylen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, who historically have been 2 of the best guys at beating man coverage. Tua lights it up. And the Texans play a ton of man coverage. That's how they play with D'Amico Ryan. So in theory, also in the Dome, this should be a good matchup for the Dolphins. I don't really understand why they're 3-point dogs. I'm not sure why the Dolphins are worse than the Texans, honestly, with the way that the Texans have played for, it's not just a few weeks now, it's been like 2 months where the Texans just have not looked right at all. Meanwhile, the Dolphins, they are playing at a really high level on offense. The defense is fine. It's like a mid-pack defense. So I think that the Dolphins will have success through the air in this one, and that Jaylen Waddle should be the beneficiary. Again, they combined for 200-plus yards last week, Tyreek and Waddle. That was the expectation. They'd be doing that every second week. So perhaps they've gotten right.
Our last game, guys, is the Bengals traveling to Tennessee. The Bengals are 5-point favorites against the Titans. The over-under is 46 points in this game, largely because of what this Bengals offense can do. Jay, the bubble finally burst on Nick Westbrook-Ikhine last week. Is he still worth holding on to? Just one bad week.
How lucky are you feeling? It's just rolling the dice and hoping that it comes up NWI.
Yeah.
So, in theory, this should be as good a matchup as you could possibly imagine for Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, given that the Bengals, their pass defense, their defense overall is terrible. The issue is that for Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, last week was as good a matchup as you could imagine too, against a Jags team that gives up the most explosive plays in the league through the air, and he did absolutely nothing. So it's just really, it's very hard to project. If you're someone who's in my position, perhaps he's the type of guy that you look for because he could have a 50-yard touchdown, but honestly, even then, there are probably better options
He is
out
a
there.
swing for the fences. If you started Cooper Kupp last night, if you started, one of these guys that just didn't show up, if you started Debo, Brock Purdy, whatever, and you need some variance as Jay and the Grape Slappers do, then you can sort of swing for the fences, right? Because he is a big play waiting to happen. I will say that, He had a 6% target share last week. 6%. Like, he's averaging less than 3 receptions per game. Now, what's happened is those 2 receptions or 2 or 3 receptions he's getting a game, like 1 or 2 of them are going for touchdowns. But, like, if he doesn't score, he's not somebody that's going to get you there on volume. 45% of NWI's fantasy points this year have come from touchdowns. So it's just, to Jay's point, how lucky do you feel here? He's my wide receiver 47, so he'd be a desperation play for me, Connor.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, you just got to hope for the one big touchdown because, as you said, Matthew, every stat tells you the volume isn't there. Like, the usage isn't there. You're praying. And this isn't a quarterback offense situation that I think they want to play with a lot of risk. Maybe, though, like you said, Jay, Cincinnati forces them into just having to play that way.
I just think that, like, there's just better options out there for people. Like, you're better off going with, like, a touchdown-dependent tight end. Like, I feel better about Jawan Johnson or K. Dotton.
Stone Smart.
Add that third T onto his name.
Because these guys at least have a bit more of a floor where you feel good that they're going to get 3 catches or something.
Right.
NWI might not do anything. You might just put up a 0.
Yeah.
Like my Cooper.
It also felt like, Connor, to me, that Will Levis, who had played better since coming back from injury, kind of took a step back last week.
They're also being really cautious. Now you just wonder, does this staff fully trust Will Levis to be this? The best version of Will Levis, whether people love it or hate it, is a guy that can bomb the ball down the field, make plays with his legs, but when he makes a lot of mistakes, they get, a little, okay, let's dial things down a little bit here.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Will Levis needs sort of chaos. He needs, like, he's got to be that gunslinger.
Like, find your Jordan Love,
right.
Will Levis. I know it's a lot to ask.
This might be it for Will Levis as a starter.
It's going to be really interesting what they do in the
back
offseason.
up next year somewhere.
No, I'm not
I
closing
truly
the book
don't
on
know.
Will
I don't
Levis
know
yet. I mean, like, look, he came into the league as a raw prospect. They were like, this guy's got a cannon for an arm, but he was, out of Kentucky where he wasn't asked to do a ton. And, like, they're just he was always supposed to be a developmental project, right? Like,
I was surprised he played as a rookie. I know he had to.
Right.
But he felt like a guy like, we'd really like to sit this guy the entire year. And the next thing you know.
He's gotten worse, right? He was better last year.
The start to this season was tough.
The start,
giving away the ball
recently
against the Bears and the Jets.
Even like the good game against the Texans, he took 8 sacks and threw a pick 6.
Yeah. But I'll also say, like, it's not all on him. Like,
it's not a great team.
It's
great
not a great
offense, I
team.
should say.
The line is bad. Like, there's a lot going on there.
That'll do it for what's on tap.
I'm still a Will Levis stan.
Presented Connecticut's very own.
Yes.
Presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. We're taking our last break. When we're back, it's time for last call. Jay and I got our pickup lines for Matthew, our best bets going into the weekend.
Ooh, baby. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.